Guys, Mr. Zanakis here. I just wanted to go through the selfie stick assembly here in Onshape. Many of you have already completed this, but I wanted to put it together from scratch just in case anybody wanted to double check themselves or was struggling with any one of the individual parts. Okay, so I've already brought in all the different parts of the selfie stick. There's one other part that I need to bring in, which is the plastic thumb set screw. So I go over here to insert, and I've already uploaded it to Onshape, but I'm going to go ahead and click it here. And it will allow me to place it into my assembly file. So I'll green check. So I have all my parts in here. Again, we're going to start from the bottom of the selfie stick and work our way up to the top. And what you first need to do is ground the bottom here so that as we're moving all these other parts around, we're going to fix or ground. It's some called a fix or a ground depending on which software, but in Onshape it is fixed. So I'm going to right click and fix it, meaning I can't move this around. You can see the little fixed ground symbol right there. So that becomes our starting point. Now I want this to actually slide in and out, so it can vertically slide in and out, but it also should have the freedom to rotate. So for that, we're going to use the cylindrical mate, okay, which is up here, cylindrical mate. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click the outer surface of the shaft here. And then I'm going to rotate this guy just to change my orientation. And I'm actually going to use, that's the same cylindrical point. It's the middle, so we're going to click there. Okay. Wait, click it. And here, there we go. All right. So we're in good shape with this here, but let me close this out. The problem is that, and I should have did this before I green checked it, right? There is, well here, let me click off, okay? I can pull this out, but it also can slide all the way through. In other words, we have not limited anything with respect to linear movement for sliding or for the rotation. So let's go back into our cylindrical, and I should have done this before I closed it out and clicked on limits. All right, so I'm going to say the minimum for the Z axis is what we are referencing here. You can see the X and the Y, and the Z is running straight through. So that's the Z reference that we're talking about, putting limits. So for a minimum, I'm going to make it 0, where it originally started. And then for the maximum, I don't know, let's say, I'm not really sure about the dimensions here. Let's start with 6 inches. Okay, so let's see what that does. So I can, oops, pull this guy out to there, and it won't let me go any further down. So 6-inch limit there. Let's see what we look like if we change that. Let's go with 9 inches. What does it look like? We want to get this to pull it out, and you can see I have a little bit left in there. I think that's about as far as I'm going to go with it. You could push it a little bit further, but you want to make sure you still have some material left in there. If it gets too close to the edge, it would actually get a little wobbly, and functionally it shouldn't come out ever, and you want to leave some of it back in there. Okay, so we have that. Now it's hard to see the rotational aspect of this until I actually put something on there. So this piece we're going to actually fasten mate, basically like gluing it to this point. So I'm going to come up here, fasten mate, and I'm going to select, let's select this face right here. And for this, we want to get in there, we want to actually select that face in the back. So I'm going to click that. All right, so that pulled it over here, but notice, okay, so it brought those two together right there, but the orientation is off. So I'm going to try and actually flip it, and now you can see it's mated up inside there. That's surface to surface, and is fastened, and that's the orientation that I wanted to go in, so I'm going to green check it. And now when I try to rotate this, you can see that not only does it go up, but it has the ability to rotate, and that's that cylindrical mate, which is what we want and what we're looking for. Okay. The next piece we're going to actually add here. Let's bring this guy over here. Now, this should hinge, right, inside of here. And it's going to want to rotate. So for that, we would just use a revolute mate, where it just allows it to revolve around an axis. And you can see that here's solid and over here is open. So this is where we're going to set that thumb screw that we brought in as well. The way this would work is you would tighten it down and it would tighten it up and control the ability to rotate. Once you get it in position, you can lock it into position. All right, so from a modeling standpoint, we're going to use the revolute command. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to try and grab. There's a couple different ways to do this. So let's look at this. All right, I'm going to grab just the circle. I don't want the face. I want just see, that's grabbing the whole thing, but I really just, there you go. That's just the circular face of the opening. Okay, so I'm going to click that. And then I'm going to click over here and grab just the face. Okay, so I brought it in. It's aligned. You can see straight all the way through, but it's not centered here. So what I can do is control that by controlling the offset. So my offset here, again in the Z reference, I'm going to make it, I forget, let's see, let's try 0.025. Okay, that moved it the other way. So let's do negative 0.025. That looks pretty good. May not be exact. If you really needed to know, you could measure, but we're just eyeballing this, and that looks pretty good. So I'm okay with that. Now, we don't want this thing to rotate all the way through. It has to be controlled. So we're going to put some limits on the rotation. So let's start with -90 and +90 degrees and see what that does. See if that is what we want. If this is our 0 reference, the way that it's oriented right now, you can rotate 90 degrees to either side. So let's green check, see and test this out. So I can't pull it down any further. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to temporarily fix this piece so that I can rotate this without the whole thing moving. And you can see that's the range of motion that we want. So by setting those limits of 90 degrees with respect to the original starting spot, that looks good. And by the way, if I want to get this back to its original starting point, I can right click on the revolute here and hit reset, and it puts it back to its starting position. Don't forget to unfix, okay, anything that you temporarily fixed just for the purposes of testing out a connection. All right, so we're making progress here. Since we're at this point, let's go ahead and put this guy right through here. So what I want to do, might have actually been easier to do this before I slid that in, but let's use this face right here, and we're going to put that and marry it down with, first of all, let me bring this over. Let me show you this, because sometimes you have to move around to get this closer if you want to see. You have to keep changing your reference angles to see how it looks. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this inside collar here, and try and put that flush with that spot right there. Basically setting the screw as deep as it should go. Now, you should be able to twist and rotate this. And so some of you might think that a cylindrical is a good one, but really with a set screw like this, the normal operation shouldn't slide in and out. While the threads do pull it in, you really just want it to rotate and simulate as if you were tightening or twisting it. So let's use a revolute command, revolute mate. And I'm going to try and grab that circle right there. Just select it. There's that mate. Sometimes it doesn't select. Okay, there we go. Oh, I have two of them. All right, let's see if that one held properly. And then I want to grab that guy. And lo and behold, looks exactly what I wanted it to do. All right. I don't really need to put any limits on that. Let's just go ahead and green check it and see if I can in fact, oh, here we go again. Let me fix this piece temporarily and see if I can grab and twist. Well, let me get out of this. That's part of the problem. Again, fix temporarily, and you can see that I can spin this guy around as if I was tightening him, which is exactly what I want. And but I can't drag it out, like I can't pull it out of the socket. So again, under normal operation, you wouldn't want this piece to ever really come out, just be able to twist it to tighten it. So I'm going to unfix and move on to the next piece, which is going to be this mating up here. All right, so I have this part, I feel is one of the more tricky parts, okay? So why don't we go ahead and assemble this. All right, so why don't we put together the phone holder here before we go any further. Okay, so we're going to use a slider, and we will grab, let's actually grab the face, because that becomes our reference point. And then this face. So now our zeros line up. Okay, so that'll help us make it a little bit easier for us to be able to control the range of motion. So we don't have to worry about any offsets. We're just going to put some limits in. So minimum, which would be the negative, let's try, that should go all the way down with the spring fully compressed. So let's do negative 2.5. And let's try a maximum of 2.5. Let's see if those ranges work. Okay, it's too far on both accounts. So that's 2.5 inches right there. So we don't really want more than probably an inch. Let's try an inch. An inch of motion in either direction. Well, we actually don't want we want the maximum to be 0 because it's fully extended already. So let's make that 0 and make this negative, let's say negative 1.75 inches. Oh, okay, so it's going the opposite way. So we need to make that 0 and then positive 1.75. All right, we'll get there. Sometimes you just got to play around with it to figure out your orientation. I probably need to pay a little closer attention to the positive and negative direction, but you know, that's positive 1.75. Let's see if that worked. Okay, too far. We don't really want it to go any further than that. So let's try 1.5. And I don't know the dimensions on these parts. If you knew the dimensions on these parts, then you wouldn't have to play as much guesswork. You would kind of have an idea of your design on how far you wanted this to slide because you designed the actual part. And that's still a little too much. I'm going to make that 1.25. That should work. Perfect. Okay. So put a little more time than I wanted to into that, pulling that part together, but that's okay. We now need to bring this piece onto here, and then we'll bring this piece over to the bottom, and then we'll bring them all together. Okay, so let's go ahead and fasten this piece to the center of this part right here. This is really like a thumb set screw. So this should be able to spin around if we were using this, and this is what's going to tighten this piece onto the rest of this. So let's use a revolute command, revolute mate rather, and we'll use this surface, and we'll use the surface. Okay, looks good. So we should be able to spin that around freely without it impacting anything else. This guy right here, so we got to bring this over. Oh, let's close out of that. Okay, so we really have two options here. If I look at this part, it's pretty much just a straight through hole, and it's just a filler piece that connects and will mate up with this surface and with this surface and has this going straight through. So what I'm going to do is actually just place this on here and line these up, and I'm going to fix it to it. There really is no need for any rotation, so we're going to just fasten center of this surface here. Okay, and we will center it with that guy. All right, so that's all now one part. Exactly what I want. And really all that's left to do is place this guy onto here. Now, this really should be larger, and should this diameter of this on this part I think is the wrong size, but we're just using it for modeling purposes, so we're learning how to use and build assemblies here. So let's just place, see how this works out. Well, actually, let's check the depth. I'm not sure about the depth here, so let's try and put the end of this piece into this socket that's intended to be in there. Let's see how that looks from a height standpoint. So let's see, I want to, really I don't want this to spin. This is really just for tightening it down. So I'm just going to go ahead and use a fasten. And let's grab the bottom surface there. And grab this top surface here. Okay, that looks good from there. Again, the other part didn't come over yet, but once I green check this, it should pull it over. Okay, now, if you can see here, this is actually pulled in so tight that it cut through this. And really, this material should stop right at that level right there. Okay, so let's undo that. So let's get out of this fasten command here. Let's go back into here. Now I could try to offset this if I knew what this dimension was, but let's try it in a different way. All right, let's just delete this. It should allow me to pull this out. Whoops. I didn't delete it, did I? Okay, so let's return this guy, this revolute back to normal. Reset that just to get it vertical. Reset. All right, good. I can also manipulate this guy just to help me with my orientation. Let's try instead a different approach. Let's mate up this surface with that surface. See what we can do from there. So again, just trying to line these up and get this mated and have everything work together here. What I'm going to try and do actually is I'm going to undo this, put this on first. So let's go back to this fasten here, and we're going to delete that. And what I want to do is bring this onto here. Okay, so let's figure that out. Okay, we are going to do a fasten, not a planer. We're going to do a fasten. So it fixes that point. Now we're going to grab that spot right there, and we are going to put it right there. Okay, so by fastening it, I think that's the difference that I wanted to. I should have been using that more. Okay, but I'm moving this around here. Let me get rid of fastening there. Okay, I can't physically move this off of here now. And then what I can do is fasten this surface underneath to this top surface here, and we'll keep it aligned based on the center. So we're going to use a fasten again, which is the center point, and then we're going to fasten it to let's green check that puppy. Okay, so we now have it fully assembled. We have the ability to slide this up and down. You can rotate it to our full 90 degrees. And we have now completed our selfie stick. Nice job.